The knock came less than 2 minutes after my phone lit up with a reply I was not supposed to receive. Say it to my face. I stared at the message, then at the name above it. Leah Bennett, my new neighbor. Not my brother Lucas, who was supposed to receive the text I had sent while watching her carry a lamp, a stack of books, and a potted lemon tree up the steps of the house next door. The message had said, "The woman moving in beside me has a smile that could make a man volunteer to carry every box twice. That green dress should come with a warning." Then someone knocked again. When I opened the door, Leah stood on my porch in the same green dress, one hand holding her phone and the other resting on the handle of a battered red toolbox. "Daniel Mercer?" she asked. I nodded. She lifted the phone so I could see my own words on the screen. "Good," she said. "Now say it without hiding behind autocorrect. Before I tell you what I didn't, tell me in the comments whether you would have opened that door or pretended you were not home. And if stories about unexpected second chances mean something to you, stay with me." My name is Daniel Mercer. I was 30 years old, a residential architect in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I had been living alone for almost 2 years. I designed homes for people who wanted light, warmth, and room to grow, but my own life had become orderly to the point of silence. My engagement had ended the previous spring. My former fiancé said I treated uncertainty like a construction defect, something to inspect, document, and eliminate. She was not entirely wrong. Since then, I had kept my work calendar full, my kitchen counters clear, and my emotions in places no guest could trip over them. Leah was 26. I knew only that she had bought the small yellow Craftsman next door and that sometime during the morning she had managed to make 3 exhausted movers laugh while carrying twice as much as any of them. Standing on my porch, she did not look embarrassed. I was embarrassed enough for both of us. "I meant to send that to my brother," I said. Her mouth curved. "That is not the same as saying you did not mean it." "No." "No, you did not mean it." "No." "I meant it." She waited. I understood then that she was not asking for another explanation. She was giving me one chance to be as brave in person as I had been by mistake. So I looked at her and said, "Your smile made me consider offering to carry boxes I had no business touching. And the dress is dangerous." A quiet laugh escaped her. It was not mocking. It was warmer than that, and somehow worse for my composure. "That was almost respectable," she said. "Almost?" "You added the part about the dress because you panicked." I stand by it. She looked down at the toolbox in her hand. "Then you can stand by something useful." "My kitchen cabinet is hanging crooked, and the moving company says it was already like that. You brought me a toolbox? I brought you an opportunity to recover." I should have said I had plans. I did have plans. I had a materials estimate to finish, a call with a contractor, and leftover chicken in the refrigerator that would not judge me if I ate it over the sink. Instead, I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Her house still smelled like cardboard, old wood, and the lemon cleaner someone had used before the sale. Boxes crowded the living room. A rolled rug leaned against the staircase. On the mantel sat one framed photograph of an older woman in gardening gloves, smiling beside a wall of climbing roses. "That was my grandmother," Leah said when she noticed me looking. "The house was hers." "You bought it from the estate?" "She left it to my mother, and my mother wanted to sell." I bought out her share. There was no defensiveness in her voice, but there was history. In the kitchen, one upper cabinet sagged enough to scrape the one beside it. I checked the screws, the wall, and the hinge. "It was installed badly," I said. "The weight pulled it loose over time." "Can it be fixed?" "Yes." "Tonight?" I glanced at her. "That was a joke," she said. "Mostly." I found the stud, reset the mounting rail, and tightened the cabinet. Leah held the flashlight, though the kitchen was bright enough without it. Twice our hands brushed near the drill. Both times, she moved only enough to give me space, not enough to pretend it had not happened. "What do you do when you are not rescuing cabinets?" I asked. "I am a speech-language pathologist at a pediatric rehabilitation clinic. That sounds important. It is mostly children working very hard while adults learn patience." "What made you choose?" "My younger sister had a speech disorder when we were children." I watched one therapist give her back the courage to speak in class. She said it simply, but her eyes changed. "What about you?" she asked. "Why houses?" "My father was a carpenter." I liked the idea that a line on paper could become a place where someone felt safe. Leah angled the flashlight toward my face. "That sounds suspiciously sincere. I can ruin it by discussing load-bearing walls." Later, when the cabinet was level, she opened it, closed it, then opened it again. "Acceptable," she said. "That is high praise from a woman who arrived with a challenge." She set the toolbox on the counter. "I also have pizza." I looked toward the boxes. "Moving day rule," she said. "Anyone who repairs something gets fed." We ate on the floor because she had not assembled the table. The pizza was too salty, the paper plates bent under the weight, and every few minutes one of us remembered the original text and started laughing again. By the time I crossed back to my house, it was after 10. My materials estimate was unfinished. My contractor had left a voicemail. The leftover chicken was still waiting. For once, the disorder felt worth it. The next morning, I found a paper cup on my porch with my name written across the lid. Under it was a note, "Cabinet still standing. Your reputation survives another day." I took the coffee to work. At Mercer Residential Studio, my partner Naomi Price noticed the handwriting before I had taken my coat off. "That is not your handwriting," she said. "You are observant. You buy coffee in the same metal travel mug every day. Someone has disrupted a system." Naomi was 42, sharp-minded, patient only when patience improved the outcome, and the reason our 5-person firm had survived its first 2 years. She had worked with me at a larger architecture company before we left to start our own practice. "New neighbor," I said. "The one you texted by accident?" I stopped. Naomi smiled. "Your brother called looking for you. He said you had sent a declaration of interest to the wrong woman and might need legal representation. I need a new brother." "No, you need a better contact list." I ignored her and opened the drawings for a renovation in Oakwood, but for the next hour I caught myself looking at the cup. That evening, Leah was in her front yard trying to drag a dead rose trellis away from the porch. I changed clothes, walked over, and took the heavier end without asking. She looked at me. "Is this because you want to carry every box twice?" "This is because the trellis is attached to rotten wood. Less romantic, more useful." Debatable. We spent 40 minutes removing rusted screws. The old roses had been cut back years before, but thick roots still twisted through the soil. Leah told me her grandmother, Evelyn, had planted them when Leah was a child. After Evelyn developed arthritis, the garden had gone wild. After she died, Leah's mother had closed the house and stopped coming. "I want to bring it back," Leah said. "Not exactly the same. I do not want to live inside a memorial. But I want something here that remembers her." I looked at the cracked walkway, the overgrown beds, and the empty arbor. "You need a plan." She gave me a sideways look. "Of course that is what you would say." "A plan does not have to kill the feeling, no? No. It can protect it." She rested both hands on the trellis. "Draw me something then." "What is the budget?" "Small." "What is the timeline?" "Unreasonable." "What do you want to keep?" Her expression softened. "The roses, the lemon tree, a place to sit where the evening light hits the porch." I nodded. "I can work with that." We began with the garden, but the garden became an excuse. On Tuesday, I brought her a sketch showing a narrow path, 2 raised beds, and a small bench beneath the dogwood tree. On Wednesday, she left homemade soup on my porch because I'd mentioned a late client meeting. On Thursday, she asked whether architects always stared at ceilings in restaurants. I told her only when the lighting was wrong. On Friday night, a storm knocked out power on our block. I was standing in my kitchen looking for candles when Leah appeared at the back door holding a lantern. "My refrigerator has milk for 6 children's therapy sessions tomorrow," she said. "How long does power usually stay out?" 2 hours. 2 hours, sometimes 4. She frowned. "I have a small generator in the garage," I said. "It can run both refrigerators if we use an extension line." "You own a generator?" "My father gave it to me after Hurricane Florence. Of course he did." Rain struck the gutters while we pulled cables between the houses. By the time both refrigerators were humming, we were soaked. Leah pushed wet hair away from her face. "I owe you." "You already fed me pizza. That covered one cabinet, not electrical infrastructure. Then make me tea." "With no power?" "I saw a gas stove. You notice too much. So do you." We sat on her kitchen floor again, wrapped in towels, drinking tea, heated in a dented kettle. The lantern stood between us. In the low light, she looked less like the fearless woman from my porch, and more like someone deciding whether to say something. "My last relationship ended because he thought every kindness should create a debt," she said. "If he drove me to work, I owed him dinner. If he helped my family, I owed him agreement. Eventually, every good thing came with an invoice." I understood why she had insisted on naming the pizza. "I do not keep score," I said. "Everyone keeps some kind of score. Maybe. But not every score is meant to be collected." She studied me. "What ended your engagement?" she asked. I could have given the polite version, different goals, bad timing. "We grew apart." Instead, I said, "I kept trying to solve every problem before my fiancé had decided what she felt." She said being loved by me sometimes felt like being managed. Leah did not rush to reassure me. "Was she right?" she asked. "Sometimes." "That must have hurt." "It did. I meant hearing it." "That too." The power returned with a sharp click. The refrigerator lights came on. The lantern suddenly looked unnecessary. Neither of us moved. Leah's voice was quiet. "You are allowed to learn from being wrong without deciding you are dangerous forever." Something opened in my chest. I reached toward her, then stopped. She noticed. "Were you going to touch me?" she asked. "Yes." "Why did you stop?" "I did not know if you wanted me to." A small smile appeared. "You can ask." "May I?" She nodded. I tucked one wet strand of hair behind her ear. My fingers barely touched her skin, but the moment held more weight than the accidental text. Then she leaned toward me. A pounding sound came from the front porch. We both froze. "My sister," Leah said, looking at the clock. "She said she might stop by after work." I stood too quickly and hit my shoulder on the cabinet I had repaired. Leah covered her mouth, laughing. "Do not," I said. "I am sorry." "You are not?" "No," she admitted, "I am not." Her sister, Emily, was 22, energetic, and completely uninterested in pretending she had not interrupted something. She looked from Leah's damp hair to my bare feet to the 2 mugs on the floor. "So this is the text message, man," she said. Leah groaned. I extended my hand. "Daniel." Emily shook it. "I know. She has mentioned you once every 40 minutes. I have not." 20 minutes, then." I left before the conversation could become worse, but I heard Leah laughing after the door closed. The following week, she came to my office with a rolled set of colored pencils and a list of plants. We spent an hour adjusting the garden sketch. She wanted herbs near the kitchen, low flowers along the path, and one section where children from her clinic could help plant sunflowers in spring. "You are bringing work home," I said. "I am bringing hope home." That is a dangerous answer. You started this. By then, I had stopped pretending our time together was accidental. I invited her to dinner on Saturday. A real date? She asked. A real date? No power outage? I can arrange one if you are attached to the atmosphere. No toolbox? Optional. She smiled. Then yes. Saturday morning, my father collapsed at a hardware store. The call came from an unknown number. A cashier told me he was conscious but confused, and that an ambulance was on the way. I do not remember driving to the hospital. I remember the red light outside the emergency entrance, the smell of antiseptic, and my father's work boots sitting under a plastic chair while he lay in a hospital bed. Robert Mercer was 62. He had spent 40 years lifting lumber, climbing ladders, and dismissing pain as if the body were an unreliable employee. The doctor called it a transient ischemic attack. A warning, not a full stroke. They wanted observation, tests, and changes he would not enjoy. I am fine, he said as soon as he saw me. You collapsed. I sat down suddenly. The cashier said you could not say your own address. She asked too fast. Even frightened, he could be impossible. I called Naomi. I called Lucas. I canceled the date with Leah by text because I could not make myself explain on the phone. Family emergency. I'm sorry. I'll call when I know more, she replied immediately. Do not apologize. Tell me where you are. I hesitated, then sent the hospital name. 40 minutes later, Leah walked into the waiting room carrying 2 sandwiches, bottled water, and a phone charger. You did not have to come, I said. I know. My father looked at her from the bed. Who are you? He asked. The neighbor, she said. The dangerous dress? I closed my eyes. Leah's eyebrows rose. Daniel talks about me? Lucas does. My father seemed pleased with himself. Leah sat beside the bed and asked him normal questions, not medical questions. She asked what kind of carpenter he was, which Raleigh neighborhoods had the best old houses, and whether Daniel had always sorted screws by size. Since he was 10, my father said, he labeled the jars. I was organized. You were peculiar. For the first time since the call, I laughed. My father stayed overnight. Leah stayed until the nurse said visiting hours were ending. In the parking garage, I tried to thank her. Do not turn it into a debt, she said. I was only going to say it mattered. That is allowed. She stepped closer. You look exhausted. I am. Will he stay with you when he is discharged? He lives alone in Clayton? The doctor will probably say no driving for a while. That was not my question. I knew what she meant. Yes, I said. He will stay with me. And you will try to do everything. He is my father. That still was not my question. I looked at her. She touched my arm. Call your brother. Call the doctor. Make a schedule. Do not disappear into being useful. Her words should have annoyed me. Instead, they felt like someone placing a hand on a door I was about to lock from the inside. My father came home with me 2 days later. He hated the guest room, the medication chart, and the blood pressure cuff. He especially hated the rule against climbing stairs alone. I built houses before you could tie your shoes, he told me. And now you are sleeping in a room with no steps. You enjoy this. I enjoy you being alive. He looked away after that. Leah did not become his nurse. That mattered. She came by with soup once. She drove him to a follow-up appointment only after Lucas's car broke down and only after asking me to confirm it was truly necessary. When my father tried to hand her cash for gas, she took $5. No more. No more, because she understood pride better than I did. She also refused to let our relationship vanish. On Wednesday, she knocked at 7 carrying 2 folding chairs. What is this? I asked. Our date. My father is here. I know. I cannot leave him alone yet. I know that too. She set the chairs in the narrow space between our houses. We ate takeout under the porch lights while my father watched a baseball game through the living room window. It was not romantic in any way I would have planned. It became one of the best evenings of my life. Leah talked about a 6-year-old boy at her clinic who had said his full name aloud for the first time. I told her about a client who wanted to remove every interior wall from a house built in 1910. She asked what I was afraid would happen if I stopped working for one evening. Something would be missed, I said. Something is always missed. That is not comforting. It is true. The porch light caught the edge of her face. Maybe love is not finding someone who prevents every bad thing, she said. Maybe it is finding someone who tells the truth when you cannot control them. Is that what this is? She held my gaze. I do not know yet, she said, but I came to find out. I reached for her hand. This time I did not stop halfway. She turned her palm up and laced her fingers through mine. We stayed like that until my father tapped on the window and pointed dramatically at his empty water glass. Leah laughed. Your patient is demanding. He is not my patient. From inside, my father called. I heard that. 2 weeks later, he was stronger. He could walk around the block, though he complained about the pace. I was still waking at night to check whether his bedroom light was on. My workdays stretched. The garden plans sat untouched on my dining table. Then Naomi asked me to close the conference room door. A large development company in Chicago had seen our adaptive reuse project in Durham. They wanted someone to lead a new residential design division. The salary was more than double what I paid myself. The title included equity. The position started in 8 weeks. You should hear them out, Naomi said. What happens to the firm? They are willing to absorb our active projects and offer me a senior role here. You talked to them? They approached both of us. I said I would not decide before you knew. I looked through the glass wall at our small office. 5 desks, sample boards, a printer that jammed when it rained, and a shelf of models we had built by hand. This is what we worked for, I said. One version of it. The interview was scheduled for Friday. I did not tell Leah. At first, I told myself there was nothing to tell. An interview was not an offer. An offer was not a decision. My father was still recovering. Leah and I had kissed only once, 3 nights earlier, beside the half-dead roses after she accused me of measuring the distance between us. But each day I stayed silent. The information changed shape. It became a secret. Friday morning I flew to Chicago. The offices occupied the top 3 floors of a glass building overlooking the river. The people were intelligent. The projects were ambitious. They spoke about national expansion, design leader, and resources our Raleigh studio could not imagine. They also spoke about time as if it belonged to the company. The job required frequent travel and relocation by January. At lunch, I looked at a photograph Leah had sent me. My father stood in her yard holding a watering can while she pointed toward a row of herbs. Under it, she had written, "He says your garden plan is too cautious." I smiled before remembering where I was. The final interviewer asked what would make me hesitate. I gave him answers about partnership structure and project authority. I did not say her name. When I returned Sunday evening, Leah was on my porch with a cardboard tray of seedlings. You look guilty, she said. I am tired. That is not the same thing. I took the tray. What are these? Lavender, thyme, and the roses you said would survive neglect. I did not say neglect. You said low maintenance, I translated. She watched me set the tray down. Where were you? Chicago. Her expression did not change at first. For work? Yes. What kind of work? I should have told her then. Instead, I said, a meeting with a firm. The pause between us lengthened. Daniel? Are they offering you a job? They are considering it. And are you considering it? I do not know. She folded her arms, not angrily, but as if holding herself still. How long have you known? Since Tuesday. It is Sunday. I wanted facts before I brought you uncertainty. Her face changed. Not because of Chicago, because she recognized the pattern before I did. You wanted to solve it before I could react, she said. That is not what I meant. It is exactly what you told me you used to do. I felt the old defensiveness rise. This is not the same. We have known each other a few weeks. Then it should have been easier to tell me, not harder. My father is in my house. My company may change. I did not know what I could offer you. I did not ask for an offer. I am trying to be responsible, and I am trying to be included in the truth. Her voice remained calm, which made every word land harder. I stepped closer. I was going to tell you. When I understood what I wanted. Leah looked at me for a long moment. That is the problem, she said. You think honesty is something you provide after you have finished thinking? But the people who care about you live through the unfinished part too. She walked back to her house. I stood beside the tray of seedlings until the porch light came on. The Chicago offer arrived Monday morning. They gave me 10 days. Naomi said nothing while I read it. Finally, she asked, "What are you going to do?" I do not know. That answer is becoming expensive. I looked at her. You are not deciding between ambition and a woman, she said. Do not turn it into something dramatic and stupid. You are deciding what kind of life you want and whether you're willing to tell the people in it before the choice is neat. She was right, which was becoming a crowded category. That evening I told my father. He sat at the kitchen table with his medication organizer open in front of him. Chicago is cold, he said. That's your advice? I am thinking I need more than weather. He closed the organizer. When your mother was sick, I did not tell you boys how scared I was. I fixed things. I made meals. I kept the insurance papers in order. I thought that was strength. My mother had died when I was 19, after a long fight with ovarian cancer. My father almost never discussed that year. What does that have to do with this? I asked. Everything. You learned from me that love means handling the problem alone and presenting everyone else with the final plan. His voice was rough. I taught you the wrong thing. I sat across from him. You kept us together, I said. I also kept you out. The kitchen was quiet. My father looked toward the window between our house and Leah's. You like her? Yes. Then stop making your fear sound like good manners. The next morning I went to Leah's house. She opened the door but did not invite me in. I received the offer, I said. She nodded. I have not decided. Another nod. I wanted to tell you before I had an answer. That is different. I am sorry. She looked tired. I believe you. It was not forgiveness. I do not expect you to make the decision for me, I said. I will not. I also do not want to pretend you are irrelevant. Her eyes met mine. What do you want from me? The truth? She leaned against the doorframe. If you go, I will be hurt. I will also understand. We have not built enough for me to ask you to give up a career move that may matter to you. And if I stay? If you stay only because of me, I will spend every hard year wondering when you will resent it. I nodded slowly. That is the truth, she said. What do you want? Her breath caught. I want more time with you. I want the garden. I want the folding chair dates and the way you ask before touching me. I want to see who we are after the exciting part becomes ordinary. The honesty in her face made my chest ache. But I do not want to be chosen like a location on a map, she continued. I want to be part of the life you choose because it is yours. I understood then that there would be no grand gesture large enough to rescue me from deciding honestly. I need a few days, I said. Yes. Will you have dinner with me Friday? She considered it. Tell me your decision then. I will. For the next 3 days, I studied two futures. In one, I moved to Chicago, led projects across the country, and became the architect I had imagined being at 22. In the other, I stayed in Raleigh, where our studio was small, my father needed support, and a woman next door had made my carefully managed life feel larger. But the choice was not as simple as career versus love. I called 3 former mentors. I reviewed our firm's finances. I asked Naomi what she wanted, not what she thought I should want. She surprised me. I do not want to be absorbed by them, she said. I want to expand here. We have turned away 6 projects this year because we lack staff. I think the Chicago company wants our reputation more than our talent. Why did you not say that before? Because you never asked. The words stung. We spent the afternoon building a different plan. Instead of selling the studio or abandoning it, we could seek a regional partnership, hire 2 junior architects, and create a small adaptive housing division in Raleigh. The risk was real. My salary would remain modest. I would need to court investors and take fewer design hours for more leadership. It was not the safe choice. It was not the romantic choice. It was the first choice that felt like mine. On Thursday, my father had another episode. He was walking from the kitchen when his right hand went weak. The glass he carried fell and broke. This time there was no confusion, but I called emergency services before he could argue. At the hospital, doctors said it was not another TIA. Medication had lowered his blood pressure too much. They adjusted the dose and recommended outpatient cardiac monitoring. The news was manageable. My reaction was not. I spent 6 hours holding myself together, then snapped at Lucas for arriving late. I criticized the nurse for repeating a question. I answered 3 work calls in the hallway and missed half the doctor's explanation. Leah came only after Lucas called her. She found me near the vending machines, staring at an email from Chicago. I am fine, I said. She did not argue. She sat beside me. For a full minute, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "You do not have to perform competence for me." Something in me broke. "I am afraid he is going to die," I said. The sentence came out small and young. Leah took my hand. "I am afraid that if I stay, I am using him as an excuse. I am afraid that if I go, I am abandoning him. I am afraid I will ask you to wait and discover that I chose a job over a life. I am afraid I will stay and blame you for a decision you never made." She listened without correcting me. "I do not know how to do this unfinished," I said. "This is how," she replied. "You tell the truth while it is still ugly." I looked at her. "I have been angry with you," she said. "I am also here. Why? Because one mistake is not the same as a pattern you refuse to change." I lowered my head. She moved closer but did not pull me toward her. "Your father is stable," she said. "Your brother is with the doctor. Naomi has your work. Right now, there's nothing useful you can do for 5 minutes. That feels impossible." "I know." She rested her shoulder against mine. We sat there, doing nothing. It may have been the most difficult thing I did all week. My father came home the next afternoon with a monitor taped to his chest and an attitude worse than ever. Lucas agreed to take 2 nights each week. My aunt volunteered for appointments. We hired a part-time home health aide for mornings, despite my father's objections. "I can afford it," he said. "Good," I replied. "Then you can pay her." He glared at me, then laughed. Friday evening, Leah was waiting in her garden. The tray of seedlings sat beside the unfinished path. The roses had begun to show new leaves. I carried 2 envelopes. "One is the Chicago offer," I said. "I declined it this afternoon." Her face remained careful. "The other is a business plan Naomi and I created. We are expanding the Raleigh studio. It may fail. It may also become the work I actually want. You are staying." "Yes." Because of your father? Partly. Because of me? Partly. She looked away. I stepped closer, but not too close. I am staying because when I imagined Chicago, I saw a title I wanted and a life I did not. When I imagined Raleigh, I saw work that still challenged me. A father I can help without becoming his entire support system. A firm Naomi and I built, and you. Her eyes brightened. I do not want you to be the reason I gave something up, I said. I want you to be one of the reasons I finally chose what I was building. The evening wind moved through the bare branches. Leah touched one of the envelopes. That sounds almost rehearsed. I practiced in the car. She laughed softly. Then her expression turned serious again. Staying does not fix what happened. I know. I need you to tell me things before they are polished. I know. I need you to let me have feelings you cannot manage. I am trying. That is not a promise. No. I took a breath. The promise is that I will not confuse silence with protection again. She searched my face. And what do you want from me? She asked. To tell me when I am doing it, to leave if I refuse to hear you, to stay only if this becomes good for both of us. Her eyes filled. That is a frighteningly reasonable answer. I had help. Naomi, my father. That is more frightening. We stood beside the dormant roses, close enough to touch. I missed you, I said. I missed you too. May I kiss you? Leah looked toward the two houses, the broken path, and the empty place where the bench would eventually stand. Yes, she said. But do not make it a solution. It is not. What is it? A beginning with more information. She smiled. Only an architect would say that. Then she reached for my coat and kissed me before I could improve the sentence. The kiss was slower than the one I had imagined during the storm. There was no relief large enough to erase what had happened. There was only choice, made with open eyes. When we separated, she rested her forehead against mine. You still owe me a real date, she said. I have reservations, of course you do. I can cancel them. Do not overcorrect. We went to dinner. 3 months later, the garden path curved from Leah's porch toward the dogwood tree. The roses were still thin but alive. My father had moved back to his house with a medical alert system, a weekly home health visit, and a promise to call before climbing anything taller than a chair. None of us believed the promise, so Lucas removed his extension ladder. Mercer Residential Studio hired 2 junior architects. Naomi led operations. I spent less time drawing and more time asking questions I once assumed I could answer alone. Leah opened a Saturday communication group for children at her clinic. The first spring session took place in her yard. 6 children planted sunflower seeds in the raised bed while their parents drank coffee on the porch. I built the bench from cedar. Leah said the back angle was too upright. I adjusted it twice. She still said it was too upright. I accused her of enjoying authority. She said I was finally learning. We did not move into one house, not yet. There was something healthy about crossing the strip of grass on purpose. Some nights she stayed at mine. Some nights I stayed at hers. Some mornings we drank coffee on separate porches and waved like people who had only recently met. We also had hard conversations. When I accepted too many projects, she told me before resentment had time to harden. When she canceled plans 3 times for work, I admitted I was disappointed instead of saying it was fine. When my father's monitor showed another irregularity, I told her before I'd called every doctor in North Carolina. Ordinary honesty became our most romantic habit. On the first warm evening of spring, I came home and found Leah standing on my porch in a blue dress. My phone buzzed before I reached the steps. The message said, "The architect next door looks unfairly good with sawdust in his hair. I might need him to say something reckless to my face." I looked up. Leah held her phone against her chest. "Wrong person?" I asked. "No. Accident?" not even slightly. I climbed the steps. What exactly am I supposed to say? She smiled. The same kind of smile that had started the whole thing. Only now I knew what lived behind it. Courage, impatience, tenderness, and a refusal to let people hide inside good intentions. I stopped in front of her. "I love you," I said. Her smile disappeared, not from unhappiness, from the weight of hearing it. I had not planned to say it that night. I had not rehearsed. There was sawdust on my shirt, grocery bags in my car, and an unanswered email waiting on my phone. The words were unfinished and true. Leah's eyes filled. "Say it again," she whispered. "I love you." She stepped into my arms. "I love you too," she said. We stood on the porch, while evening settled over the two small houses and the garden her grandmother had left behind. A year earlier, I would have believed love proved itself through certainty, through plans, promises, and problems solved before anyone had to worry. Leah taught me something harder. Love was not a finished drawing. It was the courage to invite someone into the room while the page was still blank. If you have ever had one honest mistake lead you toward the life you needed, share your answer in the comments. And if you believe love grows stronger when two people stop hiding behind perfect words, stay with us for the next story.